What is going on, guys? Smooth Racing here, and today I'll be doing a Formula E 2014 to 2015 season preview where I'll be confirming all the teams and drivers, as we now have our 20 drivers and have 10 teams all confirmed and all ready for the first round, which of course is on the 13th of September in Beijing, China. So then, first of all, we've got Amlin Aguirre then with Fabio Lima and Catherine Legge. Well, Fabio Lima then is a 2013 GP2 champion. He's very consistent and does have the pace. Antonio Felix da Costa at the moment has been confirmed, so that means he will be racing at some point during the year, and I do expect he'll be swapping with Fabio Lima, and Catherine Legge does seem to have her seat nailed down. Although the fact is that she doesn't have the best racing record, so I'm not quite sure if she is going to do very well in this series. She's a British driver, 34, and you will find that a lot of these drivers are quite old, and a lot of them do have a lot of experience in motorsport. So I think Fabio Lima will probably have the upper hand, and judging by the pace from Amlin Aguirre, they could be fighting at the back or the midfield to start off with, going by their testing times. Moving on to Andretti Autosport, the American team. A lot of American teams in, I think, because there are 2 or 3 races in the US, it's a very good opportunity for Americans to, American teams to increase their popularity in Europe and the US, and of course in Asia, where the first round is taking place. And of course Andretti means, of course, it's run by Mario Andretti, the world champion. I can't remember how many times he's won a world championship. He's gone for Frank Montgomery and Charles Pic. Now Frank Montgomery then, well, he's a very experienced Le Mans racer and did take part in 7 F1 races with Super Aguri, I believe, in 2006 or 7, I can't quite remember. But he didn't do that well in Formula 1, and neither did his fellow compatriot Charles Pic, of course, in Formula 1. Failed to score a point in 2 years with Marussia and Caterham, although of course he didn't really have a chance to. I think Andretti Autosport could be quite up there, but I don't think they really have the strongest lineup. I do expect Charles Pic probably to be the #1 driver. He'll be racing under the number of 28. Moving on to Audi Sport Abt, of course named after one of their drivers, Daniel Abt, number 66. He'll definitely be the team leader, I think. Currently in GP2, really impressing with Hilmer at the moment, although he hasn't been the most consistent, so I think if he can iron out his consistency issues, he could be a really good driver for Formula E. And I think, of course, he's got to juggle this Formula E duties with his GP2 duties, but I think he'll do that quite well, especially considering I think there are only 10 or 9 rounds, I think it might be now, on the Formula E calendar, so he should be able to shuffle that around a bit. And of course the more exposure to Formula 1, of course, because Formula E is quite well linked to Formula 1, I think, with a lot of the teams, a lot of former drivers in it. Formula 1 teams will be keeping a close eye, I think, on this series for young drivers like Daniel Abt coming through. Moving on to the next team, China Racing. Well, I think these could probably be some of the back markers. Looking at their testing times and a few of the issues they've had in testing, I'm not sure if this is really going to be the best team. They've gone with Hong Ping Tung, who's a Chinese racing driver, competed in GB2 quite a while ago. He's 31 now, probably a bit past his peak. Hasn't really had the best results in motorsport, so I'm not quite sure if he's really going to get very good results. And then of course we've got the infamous Nelson Piquet Jr. Yes, that's right, we'll have Senna, Prost and Piquet all racing in it, of course all the junior versions. Sadly we're not going to get Alain Prost racing in it, which I was quite disappointed to find out he won't be racing in it. But Nelson Piquet Jr. of course infamous for the crash gate, and I'm not quite sure. I don't think he was actually banned from F1, but his reputation was really tarnished, so no one really wanted to sign him. So this is a chance for Nelson Piquet Jr. to rebuild his career, and this is his chance. And Antonio Garcia is a reserve driver, so expect, if any of these slip up, for him to be coming in and replacing either Ho Ping Tung, I think it's pronounced, or Nelson Piquet Jr. Moving on to Dragon Racing, and they've gone with Aurelio Servi, I think it's pronounced, the Spaniard. He is 40 years old, so I think probably the oldest driver in Formula E currently, although there could be a couple older, and he currently races in IndyCar. And it's kind of coming in for every so often, so he's probably going to be outclassed by his teammate, which is Jerome D'Ambrosio, of course, raced for Marussia in 2011 alongside Timo Glock, and sometimes beat him, and did show some quite good pace sometimes, and of course famously filled in for Romain Grosjean when he got his race ban in the 2012 Italian Grand Prix. But D'Ambrosio with a lot to prove, like Nelson Piquet Jr., and a lot of these drivers just trying to rebuild their career. And I expect Dragon Racing to probably around the midfield, not really challenging for wins or podiums, but still picking up the points. And just a side note, but the points are the same as Formula 1, if you were wondering, although you can get 3 points for pole position, and I believe 2 points for the fastest lap. Moving on to the next team, which is Edam's Renault, and I definitely think these are going to be the front runners. And they've looked really good in testing, and I think one of the first teams to unveil their driver lineup and their car. So they've probably been working on their car for longer than anybody. I think they were one of the first teams to announce, and of course under the watchful eye of Alain Prost. And of course, who else better to employ than your own son, Nicolas Prost? Not had the best time in racing, I don't think. He's had, of course, a lot of potential and, that big name to carry, just like Nelson Piquet. And, he is 33 now, so he's kind of missed his chance in single-seaters, and this is giving him a lifeline. I think he was a test driver for Lotus and has driven an F1 car, so he's definitely got a lot of experience, I think, in single-seater racing. And his teammate is Sebastian Buemi, who I rate very highly, and I think has a great chance because he was, I think, one of the testers quite early on, and he's got a lot of mileage in a Formula E car, and definitely could be one of the front runners coming into the season. Moving on to Mahindra Racing, a team from India. They've gone with Karun Chandak on Bruno Senna. So glad to see Chandak and Senna back in motorsport, available to the public to watch. I'm not quite sure what Chandak and Senna are doing now. I think they were going into GT racing or kind of Le Mans style stuff. But it's great to see them back on the single-seater centre stage. Of course, both of them experienced in Formula 1. Both of them had quite a torrid time and, didn't really live up to expectations. But nonetheless, they're back with a point to prove. And I think certainly Senna could be right up there, challenging for podiums and maybe even a win, of course, depending on the pace of the car. Although in testing, if you look at the testing times, just from the sheets I've got, or the testing times I've got, they were 4th and 7th out of 20 cars, so that's pretty good. So we could definitely see Bruno Senna challenging for wins as early as China. Moving on to Trulli GP, and they've gone with, you guessed it, Jarno Trulli, started his own Formula E team. He'll be racing for them, and I don't think the team will go very well. He'll probably drop off the grid in a couple of years. They don't seem very well organised, I don't think, and their drivers, I think Jarno's probably a bit past his peak now. I'm not quite sure how old he is. But of course, the Formula 1 racer, got plenty of experience in Formula 1. Famously, get that one solitary win here. He is 40, so I think he's joint the oldest person with Aurel Servia, who I still can't pronounce. I'm sure once I hear it on the commentary, I'll be able to pronounce it. And then I think it's pronounced Michelle Cerruti, the female racer, who actually seems really good. Actually, if you look at her racing record, she's actually done really well. She's currently completing in the AutoGP World Series with Supernova, and she's picked up a few wins actually, and she's looking really good. And she's currently 6th in the standings, and she could definitely be one of the surprise packages of the championships. I think she'll do quite well and possibly even beat Jarno Trulli over the season. But it will depend, what does Trulli still have in him from his Formula 1 days? Can he produce magic, and can he win races in 2014 to 2015? Next on to the penultimate team then on the grid is Venturi Grand Prix, and that's with Nick Heidfeld and Sylvain Saranzi, the French racing driver. He's currently 38 years old, and he's got vast experience in motorsport, mainly with Le Mans. He was just in the 2014 with Alexander Wurz and Nakajima, but he failed to finish. He's been in WRC, European Rallycross, GT1 World Championship, V8 Supercars, FIA World Endurance Championship. He has done so much motorsport, and now he's moving on to something else, and hoping to find a success in this, because he hasn't really found much success in anything else really. But this could definitely be a new start for him. And of course, Nick Heidfeld, the ex-Formula 1 racer, famously the person to get the most GP starts without a race win. Not the record he really wants to have, but maybe he can put that right with a few good performances in Formula E. And then finally, the final team on the grid is Virgin Racing with Sam Bird and Hemad Thwali. I think definitely one of the strongest teams, and probably the strongest lineup. I think could be quite rivaled by Edam's, but I think Virgin Racing probably have the strongest lineup of Sam Bird. Of course, runner-up in the 2013 GP Series, moved to USA, didn't really pay off, so now he's back in single-seater racing in mainly Europe, Asia, and of course, and the US still. But I think, Sam Bird will probably juggle some of his US racing duties, but I think this should be his main focus, as it's a really good opportunity for him to prove to the Formula 1 teams that they're really missing out, and they should definitely sign him if he does put in some good performances in Formula E. But anyway, that's all the teams and drivers there. Now let's see then who could be up the front running for the championship. Well, it's so hard to decide. I'm going to rule Fabio Lima out because he's probably going to lose his seat halfway through the season or after a couple of rounds. You've got drivers like Jerome D'Ambrosio. I think most likely it's going to be probably Buemi, Alguersuari, Sam Bird, maybe one of the older guys like Highfield or Trulli. But I think this is what I've gone for then. I've gone Buemi, Sam Bird, and I've gone with Charles Pic in third place in the championship. And then for the constructors, I've gone with Edams, they're going to win it, then followed by Virgin Racing and then Andretti Autosport. But that's just my predictions, and it's really hard to tell from now on. Without even seeing a race so far. But I've been racing then. I really hope we've enjoyed this Formula E 2014 to 2015 season preview. But anyway, I've been racing, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.